Hi everybody and welcome back to Northwestern Models TV, and today I'm going to show you how to put together the Dapol or old Airfix mineral wagon kit in double O gauge, so let's get started. So as always we need to break into the pack and see what we've actually got in here. Now traditionally this is actually a very old kit, as it goes back to the old days of Airfix, where Airfix owned the plastic moulding machines to make this kit. So it's been around quite a long time, but it's still a good kit to make, as indeed are all the other kits that are in this particular range from Dapol. So what we have here is obviously a good selection of parts to make up our wagon, and we've also got the wheels and couplings, and there's also a set of transfers in there as well. I'm going to very quickly read through the instructions so I have a bit of an idea of what I'm supposed to be doing, and then we can crack on with the build. So reading through the instructions, which are actually really quite good, because you've got a lovely clear exploded diagram of all the parts, and all the parts should actually have a number on them, and you might just be able to see the one on there, which is part 29, which is one of the side pieces, and the base of the wagon there is part 7. So most of them have a label nearby to tell you what part number it is, and obviously that corresponds with that. And the instructions are very simple, you just follow them through and you should be able to assemble it fairly quickly, I would imagine, and also fairly easily. As with every kit, just take your time, read through the instructions, reread them if you need to, and you'll get there in the end. So let's finally get on with the build, shall we? So the first job is to put the brake assemblies, is it? Yep, see, 2 brake assemblies into the cross members of the underframe, engaging into the stepped assemblies. So that will be the underframe part 7, so we need parts 5 and 6. So 6 is that one there. I imagine that one is part... Where's part 5 then? There we go. 5 and 6, yep, that's a 9. Right, so 5 and 6, so the brake assemblies go into the little cutouts in the wagon side there, like so, making sure that the relief detail is on the outside of the wagon. Now obviously I've just pressed them into there, which is fine, but is not going to be ideal for what we want. We're going to want to glue these in, and because we're using plastic, or the kit is made of plastic, I'm actually going to use this, which is EMA model plastic weld. We don't actually sell this in the shop, however you can get it from places such as Squires, and a number of other model railway shops will usually have some of this in stock. The reason we don't sell it is because the cost of having to send it out if somebody buys it, because it's highly flammable, and the postal service do not like us sending it out. That's why we don't stock it, but other than that we would if we could. We have occasionally had some in which we've sold the occasional bottle at exhibitions, but we don't generally stock it as a rule. So get those glued in there. Now to apply the glue you need to use an old paintbrush, or a dedicated brush to it, and what this does, it will basically soften and melt the plastic and fuse the 2 parts together like you would with welding. If you've ever done any welding, then that's how that goes. So that's those in, and then we need to put the sole bar assemblies, which is parts 8 and 9, into place as well. Now these are going to need a little bit of cleaning up, which won't take too long to do, just to get rid of the little burrs. Clean those up, and I'll also clean that up there. Right, so what we've got to also remember is that when we attach the second side of these sole bars, we need to make sure that we've got the wheels in, because once these are glued in place, it's going to be very difficult and rather awkward to actually get the wheels in. So do remember, you need to put the wheels in before you glue the other side on, or at the same time that you are gluing the other side on. Is that going to behave? I think that will behave. Or is that one going to be easier? Stick in first. It's a little bit fiddly, this, getting these on here, but I think we're almost there with it. So let's just get the glue in and get it starting to go in. Once you start gluing it, it should all start coming together. As I said, with any kits, you've got to take your time with it and just do what needs to be done. Come on, you little bugger, and get in the space. There we go. Plenty of glue in there. Now, the good thing about this Plastic World glue is that it goes off pretty quickly, so generally you can hold something in place and it will go in quite nicely and stay there once you've got the glue on it. As I said, you just take your time and you should be alright. So before I attach the other side, like I said, I've got to remember I need to dig the wheels out. Now, a slight problem I've had getting this in is that it's a very tight fit between the W irons on the sole bar and the actual bracing of the underside of the wagon. That's where it's been a little bit tricky, so that's why it's been a bit of a fiddle to get in. But not to worry. Wheels. Wheels before we glue the other side in. Back in there, so I'm not going to be using that one today. Right. So, you've got to make sure that the wheels, which have a little pin on the end, you've got to make sure that that pin goes in to the hole there in the middle of the axle box, so that it'll rotate quite nicely. Obviously I'll try and do that on both sides. So let's see if we can get one end in, and then I'll try and get the other end in. A good thing to do as well is, as you might just see now, just span the wheels, just to make sure that they're running free, because obviously once this is glued, it's glued, and we want to make sure the wheels run free, but we don't want them so free that they drop out, because that would not be good. You know, as you got the train going along with the wagons, and then all of a sudden the wagon comes off, and it's because the wheels have fallen out. That would not be good. Another one in. So now we've got the wheels on our wagon. And again, just make sure that it's all sitting down to the base quite nicely, so that it's going to sit and run flat as it should do. Now we should have a wagon which rolls. Look at that. Made something happen. Right. So the next part is the brake levers, which is parts 10 and 11. So let's just get them off the sprue. Again, these are handed. Now the brake rigging, it goes on one side, and it's not immediately obvious which side it goes on, but it is there. And part of me thinks that probably ought to have gone on earlier, but it locates in a couple of holes in the chassis, which you should be able to locate fairly easily, I would think. And again, once you've got it located, each side, just make sure that you glue it in. So I'll do that before that one all pings out, and then I'll do the other side. Now obviously the brake levers don't actually work, you know, it's just there for cosmetic reasons, because in real life the wagon would have had them. So that's what it's there for. So I have been asked in the past, does the brake rigging work? And the simple answer is no, it doesn't. And even in O-gauge, I've yet to find a model of a wagon with working brake rigging. I'm sure somebody out there will do it, but I honestly don't see the point. So, like I said, once you've done one side, just do the exact same with the other side. Well, it wants to behave. Ah. said, it is a little bit fiddly, but that's okay. Because we're in no rush to make it, as it's all part of the enjoyment of the hobby is making the kit. There's no prizes for getting it built first. There we go. So now, hopefully you'll be able to see there that we've also got the brake rigging levers on as well. So next job is the buffer beams, which is parts 12 and 13. Underframe. So let's get those off there. Again, these are going to need a little bit of a clean up, just to remove the bits of excess flash from the moulding. Because the moulds for these are, in all fairness, ancient. Like I said, the original kits of these were brought out, I think, as either Kitmaster or Airfix and Kitmaster. But yeah, these kits have been around for a very long time and they have been a staple diet for railway modellers for many, many years. So it just proves how good they are, and to be honest, they're some of the best selling items that we actually have in the shop, which to some people is a bit of a surprise. What I'm doing now is just poking out the hole in the middle of the buffer beam for one of the coupling hooks to go in. Just open that up a bit. Admittedly not the neatest, but it's there. So these will glue on to the ends, and you do need to keep the little wings on each end as well, because believe it or not, they are supposed to be there. They don't actually look like it when you look at the part, but they are actually supposed to be there. So again, it's reasonably obvious which way round they go. We'll just make sure that you have the relief detail for the buffers on the outside when you come to glue it in, and it does recess in to the underframe quite well, so it is reasonably obvious whereabouts it locates. So once you've got it in the right place, get the glue in there and just hold it in place for a minute. All the glue goes off. As you can see, it's not taking particularly long at all to assemble this. It's going together pretty reasonably quickly, which is always a good thing. Same on the other side. As an alternative glue, you could possibly get away with a Yoo-hoo or some sort of super glue, you know, with it being a plastic kit, or any glue really that is fine with plastics should be perfectly fine for this particular wagon or any other wagon in the series, like the box van or the brake van or whatever. Right, so the next job is to cement the buffers, which is parts number 14 through to 17 into the respective buffer beam ends, noting that the short rib on each buffer is uppermost. So the buffers are located here, and by the short rib it means the one on the back of the fret, because it's a slightly shorter, well, it's a shorter rib that you can see on it. What does it say? Shorter rib is uppermost. Okay. So let's. What we'll do first is just see if the buffers will go into the holes, or if we're going to have to drill them out a bit first. And that one's a bit tight. Oh, that one will go in. So I'm going to get the ones in that I can get in. And I'm actually going to glue these from behind. So I think it's just going to look a little bit neater. So that one's still going to need a bit of tidying up. What's this one? That one's okay. So we've got 2 in, out of 4. Not doing too bad. Will we get 3? Yes, we'll get 3 out of 4. So we just need to open up one, unless that one will go in there. Will it go? It's thinking about it. Yes, there we go. Right, so as I said, I'll glue the buffers from the back, because the pin should just about come through the buffer beam. It just makes it a little bit neater, and we don't then have any obvious signs of glue there either. There's nothing saying that you couldn't run a bit of glue around the fronts. I just think it'll just look a little bit neater with it around the back. Right. Right, so up to step 8 now, which is to decide on the coupling that you want to use. It says here, note that in addition to the scale coupling hooks, which I will be using, there is also a working buckeye option, and there's also now the standard metal hook-on clip units as well, and those are the buckeye ones if you wanted to use those. However, I'm going to actually use the traditional ones, the scale couplings, so because it is going to be a non-working model. So we actually have a coupling hook with a little 3-link chain as part of the moulding on there as well. So I'm going to use those instead of the actual coupling hooks themselves. And then the little tension lock ones can go into my stock for my own use, for when I decide to use them. So like I said, we've got these little scale coupling hooks with the little chains on, so it just adds that extra little sort of effect. Of detail, let's say. So let's see if we can get them in. I'll have to do a bit of filing just to get them to go in, because the holes are a little bit small, or the pegs are a little bit big. That's one of the two. Let's do one side and then the other. One of those, once it goes in, it's in. I will not be intending to take it out. Oh, there we go. So as you can see, it's also got a little 3-link chain on the end there. It's quite a nice little detail, that, which you don't get with a lot of plastic kits. Is that little bit of, you know, detail. It's most people want to fit their own couplings or the tension lock couplings, so you don't get to have those on there, or if you do, it might just be the actual coupling hook itself, like a lot of the ready to run wagons are. So to open the hole up on the wagon a bit as well. Maybe a bit much, we'll see. And that one will now go in there. You think, well, you might think this is a lot of work just to get to a running shell, you know, just a rolling match truck essentially. Yes, you'd be right. It is quite a lot of work, but it's an essential part of it, and having that ready and all done, you know, it's worthwhile spending a little bit of time on it. So I now need to go through the instructions to find out where we then come back after the couplings, because 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, yep, are all about the other couplings. Those steps there, so be aware of that. So, step 14, when the above assembly is completely dry, cement the plane and door ends, which is parts 25 and 24, into position on top of the buffer beams, and the small locating strip inside each end resting on the floor and ensuring that they are located centrally. So what that means is the end, well, this is the plane end, on the back of it there is a little raised strip which you may or may not won't be able to see there. That rests on top of the main body floor. So make sure that that sits in place, and it's the same on the other end as well. So just do a quick test run. Yep, so that will go on there, and be the same for the other end. Like so, line it all up. So let's just give that a quick clean, get rid of the bits of flash. It's coming out pretty well actually. You get some bits of moulding which have got tons of flash on, and others, like these two bits, which don't seem to have that much. So, one end at a time, line it up, get it in place, and glue it. And you'll probably have to hold it a little while, because obviously it's a vertical piece, but just allows the glue to get in there. And if you're careful, you can pick it up and chuck an extra bit of glue down the front end of it, just to give it an added bit of strength as well. So that's one end. Same the other end. And there, you can see it's starting to get what is almost resembling a mineral wagon starting to appear. so. Now, this is a stage where you're going to want to make sure that you try not to touch any glued parts. Because the plastic on these is soft, you don't want to have any glue and then touch like the centre of the panels, because it will leave a fingerprint mark in the plastic because it's quite soft. So heed the warning that it will happen. Right. So the next step is locate the side door 28, which is this piece. That's not that piece. 28. Yep, the little side doors. Locate the side door in place on one side, so 27, with the hinge pins of the door lying inside the projecting hinge covers and the door pressed home in place. Cement the assembled side to the floor and body ends. Ensure that no cement comes into contact with the working door. Now that's a rarity. You don't very often find mineral wagon kits in Dapol that have working drop-down doors. 27, choose that one. Let's get rid of that bit of flash. There. So what that means is that this little part will sit quite happily inside of the panel, but it also means that if you wanted, you could model it with the door open. So if you're doing an unloading scene, you could certainly do that. So it says to put it together like that and then attach it to the sides in the same way that we've done the others. Making sure that everything goes together. So I'm just doing a bit of a dry run first, just to see how it goes together. That seems to be pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So whilst I'm happy with it, I'm going to glue it, because otherwise it'll move and then I won't be happy with it. So I'm actually going to glue it to the end, one at the ends first, and then I'll do the other end, making sure that the top is all level. And that it's pushed in as it should be. And then I'll glue the floor joint. Good thing about this being an open wagon is it's easy to get to glue inside. As if it was like a box fan and you'd already attached a roof, you're not going to get the glue in there. So that's going to sit like that, and then we'll do the exact same with the other side. Once I've put a little bit of glue on the bottom of those hinge brackets, just to help keep that together. So that's one side. Let that go off while I do the other side. We're nearly there with this now. Very nearly there. Let's get rid of the bits of flash. the side door does its side door thing, i.e. of the flip open, which it will do. Right, so exact same as you did the other side. Get it in there, make sure it all lines up, which it looks like it's doing, and then get ready with the glue. There we go. So again, it's gluing the inside, one end, and then the same at the other. And then you can do the floor. Again, making sure you don't get glue around the door that opens, if you want the doors open, of course. Right. So that's a little bit of glue, just on there like so. So there we have our pretty much completed wagon. Now then, you have one final part, which is part 30, the dummy coal load. It's an option, you can fit it if you want to fit it, you don't have to fit it, it's entirely up to you, but it does essentially just drop in, like so. I may leave it as is, I'm not going to actually cement it in there, but if you wanted to add the coal load, you can add the coal load. But essentially, that is how to put together a little mineral wagon kit. So there we are, like I said, that's how to build the Dapol old Airfix Kitmaster double lower gauge mineral wagon kit, and as you can see the doors on the side do actually open as well. It's a nice kit, it's gone together really well. All that remains now is for a coat of paint and to put the transfers on. Again, you just follow the instructions in the pack on how to fit the transfers, it's dead easy. And yeah, it's a nice kit. They were made to be simple kits, these, when they were first produced. So they are an ideal starter kit for anybody interested in getting into wagon kit building or kit building in general for your model railways. So do go and check out the range. We have quite a number of other wagon kits available from this particular range. So anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, don't forget to give us a good old thumbs up. Also make sure that you hit that subscribe button as well, because that way you won't miss any of our future how to make it videos and our other good shed blog videos when we show you the latest products which have come in. So until next time, happy modelling!